Welcome back to Weird Stuff in a Can. Today's Weird Stuff in a Can is Saumagen and multigrain bread. So yeah, another bit of a two-can special here from Dose & Bistro, which is the house brand from Convar Europe. And there'll be a link in the video description to their conserva.de website where you can buy these. I have to say these products are not cheap, but they are designed for a very long shelf life. These are actually designed for stocking emergency bunkers or for expedition provisioning. And so as we can see here, the expiry date on this is 2030, so it's 11 years of shelf life. Now, a can of bread itself is a weird thing, but a can of bread that can last 11 years, got to be even stranger really, hasn't it? So let's talk about the contents of these cans one at a time. So this is Saumagen. Now I do apologise if I'm pronouncing that wrong. My German pronunciation has not improved since I left school, and yeah, I'm doing the best I can. So feel free to correct me in the comments if I've said that wrong. Saumagen, which is a bit like haggis. So this comprises a pig's stomach stuffed with pork, potatoes, and other vegetables. Now, as I understand it, pig stomach's a little bit different from a sheep stomach in that it's muscular, so actually the casing, which is the pig's stomach, is typically eaten as part of the dish here. So let's just have a look at the ingredients. So we've got 35% pork, 25% potatoes, water, carrots, leek, celery, spices, onions, roasted onions, garlic, preservative, stabilizer, diphosphates, triphosphates, antioxidant, emulsifier, acidifier, that's interesting, wort. Presume that's some kind of, that's interesting, wort. I wonder if that's like a beer flavouring. Dextrose, sugar, natural flavour, spice extracts. May contain traces of gluten, milk, egg, celery and mustard. So that's Saumagen. Now this is a loaf of bread. And it says it's a light... Well, I'm going to translate that actually, because again, as I say, my German hasn't improved since I left school, so I'm just going to stick that up on the screen and translate it. The ingredients here are wheat flour, water, wholemeal rye flour, sourdough, which is rye flour and water, iodized salt, yeast, and that's it. So that's a pretty standard sounding recipe for bread. That does sound like it's the real deal. So let's open these up and have a look. Well, I think we'll start with the bread. Now, the observant among you will already know why I open pull-tab cans with a can opener. For the rest of you, I will explain. It's for a couple of reasons. One is that I just don't really like pull-tabs. The other is that I find there's a couple of reasons not to do it that way. In the case of this bread, if we were to open this with a pull-tab, it would leave a little sharp rim on the inside of the can. And that would make it hard to extract this loaf in one piece because there'd be a sharp and a protruding rim round here, and then this wouldn't slide out. So there we go, that's our wholemeal mixed wheat bread loaf. It looks not too bad actually. So it smells malty and bready. It doesn't smell stale at all or anything like that. It just smells like a loaf of bread. It feels pretty firm. Although not dry, it feels quite moist actually, but it feels pretty solid. Now I understand that the best way to serve this is to cut vertical slices and then toast it. So that's what we'll be doing today. So let's just cut ourselves a slice here. It's actually quite tough going through this bread. Let's just cut through all the way so we can have a look at the inside. So the inside texture, it does look like bread, but it's very, very firm and springy. So we'll keep that as is for the moment. It smells even more grainy and bready on the inside, but we know from experience from the white bread that we had in the last video that this will come to life when it's toasted. So let's put the bread to one side for a moment and then we'll check out this Saumagen. Now I'm not even really sure what's going to be inside the can here, whether it's just the sausage or just the stuffed pig stomach, or whether there's some vegetables or something else in there alongside it. Let's open it up and have a look. And again, using the can opener because in the case of anything that's got a little bit of sauce or liquid to it, I find that the pull tab tends to spray that all over my shirt. Well, there it is. Interesting. So there we go. It's a bit like a meatloaf sort of looking type of thing in there. in some sort of gravy or sauce. I was expecting actually maybe that it might have the pig's stomach casing on there and it might just be crammed into the can like a big fat haggis, but it looks like it's more of a meatloaf type preparation. Let's get it out onto the plate carefully so we can have a better look at it. Okay, so it is, yeah, like a big chunk of spam or something almost. Let's have a sniff. Smells really, really meaty and rich, and I can smell the flavours that I would associate with tripe in there actually. So there's a real richness that you get from tripe that I can't really describe, but it's worth seeking out because it's a really rich, meaty flavour. And if you like your meat flavours, you really ought to give it a try. Anyway, I'm going to carefully... The way to do this apparently is, or the way to serve this is to cut finger thick slices and then fry them on both sides. So I'm going to try to do that today. So let's cut a chunk there. There we go. So we can see chunks of potato in there, we can see bits of carrot, we can see lots of meat. And that probably there is pieces of pig's stomach mixed in rather than used as a casing. So let's have a smell of the... Yeah, it smells the same. So it smells like just a really, really rich meatloaf combined with the smell of luncheon meat, one of those Eastern European luncheon meats. It's a bit like that. Anyway, let's get this to the kitchen. We'll fry up a couple of slices and then we'll come back here and give it a taste. So, as directed, we cut this into finger thick slices. I've got 3 slices out of the can and we're just going to fry it in butter. Just lightly fry it in butter. Over here we got the bread and I'm just going to pop that into the toaster and give it a toast for 3 or 4 minutes, just until it starts to crisp up and restore some of that fluffiness. So here we are back from the kitchen. I've got my fried Saumagen, I've got some toasted multigrain bread, and you're meant to serve this with sauerkraut and potatoes or sauerkraut and dark bread, so we are breaking from convention a little bit here. I didn't have any sauerkraut, so I've just stewed up some red cabbage with apples and onions and a little bit of vinegar and sugar. So I've made a kind of ersatz sauerkraut, just so I can have it with some kind of authentic flavours. So I think the first thing to do is taste this bread. So this bread obviously is a thing in its own right in the weird stuff in a can. So let's give that a taste on its own. So it has gone a little bit fluffy, although it's not quite as impressive as the white bread was that we tasted last week. It's very, very tasty. Really nice brown bread actually. A little bit dense and a bit chewy, but I think you're going to find that that is always the case with bread in a can. But that's really tasty. There's nothing unpleasant. There's no stale aromas or anything like that. That's just a tasty loaf of bread. It's just a bit on the dense side, but I don't really mind that. So let's just try a piece of this Saumagen on its own first, so we can see what we're dealing with. So I cut a piece there. You can see it's kind of moist and got chunks of potato in there, meat and everything. Let's have a smell now. It's warmed up. I can really tell that this is a product that contains tripe or one of those offal type of things in it, because you can smell it in the aroma. Now it's a really nice smell to me. It's a really rich, meaty smell, but it's quite distinct. I can also, the cooking has also really brought out the herbs. I can smell sage and thyme, I think, in here, and it really does smell good. Anyway, no more waffle, let's have a taste. Oh, that's really nice. It's really good. It's like a delicate, moist sausage with chunks of potato in it. It's just really meaty, really moist and tender. Can't quite believe how moist and tender that is for something that came out of a can. It's just really juicy and delicious. So let's try a chunk of this on a piece of bread with some of this cooked cabbage, my kind of fake sauerkraut. Making a right mess here, aren't I? So let's try that. That's good. That's a really nice combination, and I think the only thing I would add is a little bit of mustard. So leftovers from a different video earlier in the week. We've got, well, I'm using French mustard because I think probably that will complement this a bit better than English mustard. Let's try a chunk of this with just a little dab of mustard on it. Let me know in the comments if you know if this is ever eaten with mustard. It certainly complements it very well. So there we go, that's Weird Stuff in a Can, Saumagen and multigrain bread. I've really enjoyed that today and I'm definitely going to finish that plate off. So thanks for watching and I hope to see you again soon.